Hey everyone, just trying to get this together and wait for a few of you to come on. Hey guys, hey Keisha, how are you, Keisha? I'm just waiting for a few of you to come on and chime in, and I am waiting for my special guest. Today, I wanted to talk about the different types of entities when it comes to starting a business because, hola! Because there's a right way to do things. So I wanted to bring one of my friends on, like I promised in the video that I did, I think it was Christmas or New Year's Eve, where we were talking about starting a business and we were talking about business credit. So today I just kind of want to elaborate on the different types of entities. So I'm just waiting for my attorney friend to come on and discuss those things, because there is a proper way to do everything. And every time I talk about things, I'm real big on talking about solutions. So if I'm going to bring up a topic, I definitely want to be able to answer all of your questions and have a solution for you guys. So let me see if I can invite her again. Well, it says the invitation was sent, but I don't see her on here yet. So, okay. In the meantime, we'll just bring up the advantages, because it is tax season. I am a tax professional, so having a business, there's plenty of write-offs. There's over 479 write-offs for having a business. So those are some of the advantages that you want to of why you would want to start a business. And then you have your different tax advantages with each entity, depending on what type of business you have and what type of business you're trying to start. So, and when I refer to entities, I'm talking about an S Corp, C Corp, LLC, then there's partnerships, there's I think I named it all. And then, of course, you have your nonprofits, but that's something else. So those are the type of things that we'll be discussing today on the live feed as soon as my special guest comes on. So, and then, of course, each entity with business credit, you get other advantages. But it all depends on, of course, your industry and what you guys are planning to do. And in the meantime, if you feel like you want to start a business and you have friends that want to start businesses, hit share and bring, oh, here she is. Here, I'm on here. I sent you an invite, Lorraine. You should see an invite for you to come on here. Yes. Says it's adding. Hey, Tara, how are you? I miss you, Shug, and my baby Liv. I'm just waiting on Facebook to add Lorraine on here, and she's an attorney, and she will go in depth about business entities, how to get it done the right way, because I want you guys to know exactly which one would be beneficial and, you know, the laws behind it. So I stay in my field. I let other people do what they do, and if I can share the wealth, I will share it. Oh, hey, Liv, give her kisses for me. So, while Facebook decides to let her on, again, for all the people that are just coming on, no answer from the live video guest. Hold on, guys. Hold on, guys. So don't leave me yet. I'm just trying to get her on here. It's saying it was sent and it won't. You can request, Lorraine, to join the live feed. See if you can request, because it says so see if there's a button on them that allows you to request to join. There you go. There you go. So I just approved it. Okay. So we're just waiting for her to come on. We're snowed in in Atlanta right now.
It's working.
Yay! So everybody, this is Lorraine. She is a business attorney. Well, you know what, Lorraine, you introduce yourself. We have a couple people here right now, guys, and if you feel like all this information is going to be useful, go ahead and hit share. We're talking about business and business entities so that we can, get things done the right way in 2018. So, Lorraine, go on and uh-oh. Well, okay, this is...
Okay. This is ridiculous. I'm sorry. My phone rang. I'm like, wait a minute. I was just in there.
Right. Just hit decline every time.
Yes. I'm like, girl, I told you when I don't know how to work this Facebook stuff. I'm sorry, y'all. I was trying.
Well, I was just basically briefing them on what we would be talking about as far as the business entities and everything like that. So go ahead and introduce yourself and your title and what all you do.
Well, hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. My name is Lorraine Funderburg. I am an attorney. My main practice areas are entertainment law, estate planning, and business law. So I'm just happy to be here. Thank you very much, Sam, for inviting me. My firm, we're all about educating and empowering. So, when she asked me to be a part of it, I just couldn't refuse. So thanks for listening, guys.
And thank you for your time ahead of time.
Oh, of course. I'm like, if you guys hear any background noise, I've got some little ones running around. They shut the city down in Atlanta. So
that's that mom.
Right, exactly.
So I'm just going to brief them again really quick. When I did a feed on Christmas or New Year's Eve, I can't remember what day, I was talking about business credit and just basically the tax benefits of just having a business. And I was informed. And then a lot of the questions that came up was the entities. Oh, well, what's the best entity? Well, do you think it's best if I should have an LLC, S Corp, C Corp? And I like to stay in my field, and I like to let the professionals do what they do. So I don't like to talk about things and not be able to provide solutions, right? Which is why I brought you on. So guys, hit share because we're going to be spilling all these jewels for you today for absolutely free. So go ahead, Lorraine, if you want to just kind of brief them on like the different entities and educate us a little bit.
Okay, for sure, guys. So you probably are aware of the different entity types. If not, we have your solo practitioner, we have partnerships, we have limited liability companies, and then we have corporations. And so when you're talking about sole proprietorships, you're really not talking about any type of protected entity there at all. You're talking about the lowest form. It's simple. There's no requirements. It's just you acting as your own business with no form of protection in there. Sometimes people will get a DBA where they're doing business as, so that, you have a name for your company. That's when you would file some sort of fictitious business name statement. The different states vary as to what the requirements. It's usually a county thing. Most of them just require you file the paperwork for the DBA, let them know what you want to call your business. get it registered, pay a fee. I think they will put it in the paper for a couple of weeks, run it to make sure they put the public at notice that that's the name that you plan on running business under. And if there are no issues, they'll go ahead and file that. But basically, yeah, with the sole practitioner, you're not a separate legal entity. You're opening yourself to personal liability. You can be separate for accounting purposes, so you do want to keep accurate records for your business, even if you do have that entity. But like I said, you're not going to be protected there at all. So
question, with the DBAs and the sole proprietor, so what are the so is it different when you're with the sole proprietor? Wait, you just file a DBA and that's not even necessary,
right? It's not necessary at all.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you can do business in your own name, just as you can sign contracts in your own name. You can definitely do that, but you do not have to have a name for your business as a sole proprietor, like a lot of independent
But if you want a business bank account, you need to file that.
Yes,
DBA,
yeah,
right?
you definitely want to do that.
Okay.
Okay. So I would always suggest filing a business entity. You know, the advantages to creating a business entity is, like I said, you want to have protection from personal liability for the acts of the business. When you create an entity, you also simplify management and you kind of have a way to govern your business organization. If you're looking to get investments of any sort, investors are definitely going to want you to have some sort of entity in place. They're not looking to just invest in people. Right. And you just have a certain air of, professionalism when you have an entity and, you let people know, hey, I have a business, as opposed to, hey, I'm just doing business as me. They know that you're taking your craft or whatever it is that you're doing, the service that you're providing or the products that you're selling, very seriously. And it will make people want to take you more seriously in turn.
Guys, I hope you have your pen and paper ready, because she's dropping jewels. Get your pen and paper and hit share.
You're so silly.
Yes.
So are there any questions about that before I go on to the partnership?
Someone did have a question, but I can't see. It says, I started as a sole proprietor with the DBA and then became, but with the split screen, I can't see the whole question. Can you see it at all?
I don't see any questions.
So, okay, it won't change. But she basically, if you can kind of break that question up, Monique Sunshine, so we can see it. Unfortunately, with this split screen, it actually breaks up your question. So, okay, guys, well, go ahead and hit the share button.
Wait, I'm having technical difficulties myself now. I done pressed something.
No.
And it
no, you're still there.
I'm still here, but my screen is doing something. Can you see me?
But we can see you fine. Yeah, just like that. We can see you fine.
Okay.
So you said that you specialize also in entertainment law. So for entertainers, what is the main type, what entity do they establish most of the time? Because I know there's a lot of artists and entertainers probably going to chime in. What entity do they normally operate
under? The limited liability company, and that's actually the entity type that I would recommend for most small businesses across the board, regardless of what your field is. And I'll get into that a little bit more after I talk about the partnerships. But
okay.
I'm like, hold on, because this is driving me crazy. You can see me? Do I look upside down now?
You're sideways now.
And if I do this,
there you go.
Can see me.
We can see you perfect there.
Okay. So partnerships. So partnerships are when you have two or more people associating for the purpose of carrying on a business. You can create them orally, just by saying, hey, we're going into business together. We're officially partners. You know, you don't even have to use the word officially. That's why I say partnership is very scary. You have to be careful when you're calling people your partners, because it means a real thing, and there's no requirements to forming a partnership. You don't have to register them with the Secretary of State. You don't even have to have a contract. So
Wow.
you have to be very careful. If you do have a contract,
That is scary.
it is, right? That's why I'm like, please don't use that word partner. When people come up to me like, oh, my partner, I'm like, is this really your partner, or are you just saying that because you may be implicating a lot more than you think,
right,
you know, just by using the term. So if you do have a partnership, you definitely do want to put it in writing and map out the terms of the partnership, because by law, if you just have a partnership and there's no express written partnership terms and agreements, they're just going to assume everything is 50-50. You know, you guys own the company 50-50. You are going to be liable for the debts and liabilities 50-50. So if you guys work something else out and it's supposed to be 70-30, or, you know, hey, I'm not supposed to be liable for this, that needs to be in writing.
Everything in writing.
Everything, yeah. Always you want to put everything in writing for sure, but
everything in writing. Now hit share, guys, if this is useful.
Right. So then with the partnerships, each partner generally contributes their time, their skill, or money to the partnership, and they share equally in the profits and losses of the business. Each partner is personally and severally and individually liable. That means that if your partnership is sued, they can come after the partnership, they can come after you, they can come after the partner. They don't have to come after you equally. If you're rich and your partner's broke, they can come after you for all of the debts of the partnership. Yes, absolutely. So,
and this is just by verbalizing, guys, that this is my partner. So choose your words wisely.
Right. In the partnerships, you don't have that shield of liability at all there. So it's the same as being having the sole proprietorship. You're just joined with another person. So there's no protection there. The partners are taxed separately, though, on their share of their business. So their profits, and they file their profits on their individual taxes. And I don't know, you can speak more to that, because I'm not a tax person. Speaking of staying in your lane, you know, I'm like, I don't.
And it's the same way with LLC too.
Yes, that flow through taxation.
Yeah. So that taxation part is pretty much similar with LLC and partnerships.
Yes. So
but
go ahead.
If you it depends how you file that LLC too. So because there's different ways that you can file a LLC too. So it all depends on when you, as far as tax purposes, when you do file your EIN and with the Secretary of State, you need that statement that you get at the end where it says print your PDF or receive it in the mail. That right there explains exactly what forms and how you should be filing your tax documents. So make sure you're keeping all of that paperwork.
And that's also something you would want to include in the operating agreement for your LLC, how you're being taxed, either as a partnership or corporation.
Yes, that's very useful.
Yeah.
Guys, hit share if this information is useful.
This is driving me insane. I don't know how to get out of... I'm sorry. Is there any way we can fix this?
The only way to do it is if we refresh. Excuse the Barbie doll, guys. If we would refresh the feed, but that would kick us all out.
Okay. So there's no way for me to get rid of where I can see what everybody else is doing, because that's what I see on my screen. That's aggravating me.
No, you're supposed to see what everyone else is doing. Yeah.
I wasn't before.
No, it's actually correct.
Okay.
So
all right, moving on. So there's different types of partnership, guys. You have your general partnership, and that's usually what people have That's the one where it's just the two people acting together. You have the limited partnership, and that's when one of the partners actually does have limited liability. That partner is generally, let me just tell you the types first, and then I'll get into them. Then you have your limited liability partnership, your limited liability limited partnership, and then you have joint venture. So a limited partnerships is partnerships where, that's the one I was just pretty much explaining. The personal liability of the certain individual partners is only limited to their capital investment. So with the limited partnership, you have partners who are generally personally liable, and then you have a partner who is possibly a limited partner, which means he's only liable up to the amount that he invested in the business. So if the business were to be sued, he can't be sued for the entire debt, whatever it is. He can only be sued up to his stake in the business.
Also, like what if he invested $50,000 in the business? That's the only thing he's liable
right,
for.
Correct.
Okay,
correct.
That's good information, guys. Hit share.
So those generally have to be filed with the Secretary of State, though. Those require that registration with the Secretary of State. And so the limited liability partnership is just like a general partnership. It's just that normally the partner doesn't have personal liability for the negligence of another partner. So that's something that's very specific. That means if I'm in practice with another lawyer and we have a partnership together, and this other lawyer does something negligent that affects our entire practice, that I'm not liable for that lawyer's negligence, if that makes sense, guys. Okay. So that's actually, I use the lawyer example because that's generally used by most lawyers and accountants. Like when you see most law firms and stuff, they're partnerships. That's why you always hear them say, oh, senior partner or partner, because they're actually, that's the entity formation of the business. They're partners.
Gotcha.
And those also require filings with the Secretary of the State. And your joint venture is a partnership, but it's solely for a specified period of time or to carry out a specific goal or project. So those are generally like, hey, if two people are coming together just for something very specific, like we're putting on this concert together, for an example, like this is our business. You normally would term that as a joint venture. So gotcha. Do we have any partnership questions?
Any partnership question, guys? Make sure, the biggest thing I took from it is to have everything in writing.
For certain.
To have every single thing in writing. You don't want to just verbalize, hey, this is my partner, because verbalizing that creates some kind of verbal contract. So just choosing that wisely and everything in writing. Grab her with the phone.
Absolutely, guys. Okay, so next to corporations, that is a separate legal entity, and it is governed by state law. They require filing with the Secretary of State of your articles of incorporation. The owners, those are the shareholders. They are shielded from personal liability for the acts of the corporation. That's why people like corporations, because now we're getting into the entities where you are being shielded from personal liability. That means if your company messes up, nobody can come after your house, your dog, your kids, nothing. So all that they can come after is that company. Right. Exactly. So with the corporations, you have to maintain some corporate formalities, though. So that's why this is not necessarily the business entity of choice that I recommend for small business owners, because because they're governed by state law. You do have some requirements that you have to keep up with, like having a board of directors with the requisite amount of board members that are required by your law, by the state that you live in. Different states have different requirements for the number of board members, but those board members have to have meetings, annual meetings. You have to keep records. You have to do all that you can to preserve the separation between the owners and the corporation, because there is something called piercing the corporate veil, where if you're acting too much as yourself, like the company is kind of just like a shell for the owners for themselves, then if a liability were to come about and somebody were to sue, the court would be able to basically go through the entity and come directly to you. And they'll say, hey, this is not really a company. You guys are just, have the sham name for this company, but you're really acting as yourself. So you definitely want to make sure that you're not just out here registering businesses and not running the business and acting as a business. Yes, exactly.
Wow, that is very, very important. So with these corporations, if you are not operating and governing that corporation by the laws of the state in which it is incorporated, that corporate veil can be pierced, and now your life.
Exactly.
So guys, make sure you're knowing what you're doing and you are educating yourself. So yeah, there's plenty of things that we can do ourselves, but did a lot of you guys know that? Did you guys know that if you're not operating that corporation, and question, does that is that the same rules with the S Corp? It's with the C and S Corp?
Yes, absolutely. Because the S Corp is not a different corporation. That's like a tax designation. I'll get into that in a second too. But yes. So definitely. So you have your for-profit corporations. That's what most corporations are. They may or may not sell shares in an open market, like, Apple. Those are when people are buying stock, you're actually buying ownership in that company.
Gotcha.
You have your closely held corporations, which are corporations that only have a limited number of shareholders. Normally those are like family-owned businesses, and you can only have a limited number of shares of stock. And then you have non-profit corporations. Those are generally run to further some ideal or serve the interests of the public. Right. And so you were talking about the C Corp, S Corp thing. So most corporations fall under the C Corp designation. Those corporations are subject to double taxation. That means that your funds are taxed first at the corporate level, and then they're taxed again once given to the shareholders and the owners.
As income.
Exactly. So the S Corp is a way to get around that double taxation. And the S Corp is an IRS tax designation. So you would first have to have a C Corp registered with the Secretary of State in order to even obtain this S Corp status. So where corporations meet certain requirements under the S Corp status, they're not taxed doubly like corporations. They're taxed instead the way partnerships are taxed. So you have to be, in order to be an S Corp, you have to have 100 shareholders or less. So that's generally a closely held corporation. All of your shareholders have to be individuals. You can't have other entities that are owners of the company. You can't have trust or things like that. The citizens of the owners all have to be U.S. citizens, and the corporation has to be only offer one class of stock in order to be S Corp. So the advantages of your S Corp, aside, go ahead. You got a question?
I said taxes.
Of course, right. That's the obvious one. That's the one most people do it, definitely, because like I said, it's not taxed. It's only taxed when it goes to the owners as income. So they file it with their taxes on their individual tax return. Yeah, also the interests of an S Corp are easily transferable without adverse tax consequences. It does, all the advantages do turn around to tax benefits at the end of the day, which is huge. But on the flip side, it does create credibility, I guess, with potential consumers, investors, and employees, because, it does show some sort of commitment to the company. You do have some disadvantages, and that's just that, since it's an IRS designation, you're going to be under strict IRS scrutiny. You can lose your S Corp status if you do not maintain the requirements with your owners. Like I said, you have to have the 100 shareholders or less. They have to all be U.S. citizens. You can't sell different classes of stock, that type of thing. And so there are, it's not a cost thing either. I was going to say some of the disadvantages could be the cost, but it's not high cost because it's just, registering your entity with the Secretary of State and paperwork if you require an accountant. But that's pretty much it on the corporations. If you guys have any questions before I get into the limited liability companies.
I just wanted to kind of throw something in there with the corporations, how you said that they do have use more scrutiny and stuff like that. And if you're not going to hire an accountant, hey, but if you're not going to hire one, you should still have all of your ducks in a row, because businesses do get audited. You have to have your corporate kits together. You have to, and this is just me being biased, but I just love QuickBooks. QuickBooks is so user friendly, and it integrates with so many other apps as far as like your bank account, all of your banking apps, even POS systems if you're in retail, and keeping track of all your numbers. One, subconsciously, being aware of your numbers is going to have you more aware of what you're doing, and that therefore you're going to invest more wisely. You're going to make wiser choices because you know what your numbers are. A lot of people are just winging it, and this I know because I do many small business taxes, and a lot of people are just winging it, like, oh, well, here's my receipts and here's this and here's that, but you have no structure to it. You really need to utilize the apps and stuff that we have out here, like QuickBooks. There's other free ones that you can utilize, but having all of that together, because it's so, so important, especially when it comes to other people. Like, you're governed by the state with your businesses. So you want to make sure that if anybody says, hey, let me see your books, you have it together. QuickBook runs weekly reports, monthly reports, whenever you want it to run, and then having your corporate kits together as far as all your documentation, like she said, with your minutes and the shareholders and everything like that. They sell them. There's attorneys like her that can help you get all those documents together. And how can they find you, Lorraine?
You can find me here on Facebook now. I guess I'm LinkedIn, right? Also, I am based in Atlanta, 1372 Peachtree. Is it Road? Peachtree Street?
It's
Peachtree Street, I'm sorry, 30309.
Yeah.
I can be reached by phone, 678-814-6300.
And also, there's a link inside of this video that you can go and it's a questionnaire that asks you about multiple phases of your finances, and it's because we want a clear understanding, so that, because we like to make sure everything as a whole, personal and business, is together.
Absolutely.
Because that's just a big weight off of your shoulders when you know your personal finances, your business finances are all aligned. You'll operate better. You're not buried in all this, paperwork and not having any direction on what's the first thing to do. So that going through that questionnaire, the link is in the bio, will help you just let me try to says they're adding her. So yeah, guys, make sure you're utilizing your systems. Guys, have a system in place, have a budget key. If you're not going to, you're being proactive and diligent about keeping your books together. Let me see if I can see this question now. When she went, I didn't even see all these other questions. So one question was, She said she became an LLC later. Gotcha. So I'm actually just now seeing these questions. They weren't even popping up on my screen. I thought nobody was engaging.
Oops,
I have a
sorry.
business. I have a business getting ready to open, but I only have an EIN number. What else I need, and is it not my name on it? It's a fictitious name. So she's saying she's getting ready to open up a business, but she only has an EIN.
So that means it sounds like you didn't create a separate entity, which you should have, just to shield you from personal liability. You would want to go with an LLC. It sounds like. What type does you say? Well, it doesn't matter what type of business. Like I said, the LLC is the go-to for the small businesses because, and that actually brings us right to where I was going to start talking about the limited liability companies anyway. So that was perfect. With the LLCs, you just pretty much have the best of both worlds. It's the favored business form for small businesses. Are you there or am I frozen?
No, I'm here. I'm just going through the questions.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I really did not see these questions popping up. I feel bad. That we just kept going on.
I know. I'm sorry. We'll get to them. I can answer her question because this is exactly what I was going to start talking about anyways. So I spoke to you about the partnerships. I spoke to you about the corporations. Here comes the limited liability company, which is pretty much the baby of those two. It's those two companies put together. You get the you get the avoidance of the double taxation similar to the partnership. So it's the flow through taxation where it's not taxed twice. It's only taxed at income to the owners. You get the personal liability shield similar to corporations. So, but what you don't have is all of the corporate formalities of the corporation. Mm-hmm. So it's more flexible management and governance, more informal procedures for maintaining the separation between the owner and the entities. You definitely still want to do all of the things to maintain a separation between your business and yourself, because like I said, they can pierce the corporate veil with the LLC as well.
Right.
So you just want to create a business foundation. You want to have your business name. Like I said, the DBA is a part of it if you if you're a sole practitioner, or if the name of your LLC is not the name in which you want to operate your business under. You can do a DBA in that case too. You definitely want to have a business address. It should be a real address to the extent possible instead of a P.O. box.
Yes, that's very important.
Yeah, UPS, I think people like to use those because they don't say P.O. boxes. They just have a street address and then a suite number. It will show up under certain things, yeah. But when, like, just for, letterhead and purposes, when you're sending stuff out, you have an address as opposed to a P.O. box immediately. People don't know that. You may even want to invest in some virtual office space.
And that's even important for business credit too. When you're trying to get funding, they will see what your location is, and if it's something like a PO box, or a one of those UPS addresses, they will say, hey. And actually, when I went to go open up a bank account, because now I'm in the same building as Lorraine, guys, they actually was making me go through loopholes to prove that address, because they don't want you using virtual addresses either. Because they provide that service, though we have an actual suite.
Right.
They still provide that service, so they're making me go through loopholes to make sure I have a suite in there.
So very really interesting. Crack down. Yes.
The real businesses with the brick and mortars and the actual offices versus if you're just trying to obtain funding and use virtual addresses for the time being, etc.
I was going to say they're going to have to, it's one of those things where they're going to have to catch up with the way the world is going, because even with WeWork and a lot of those co-working shared spaces, it seems like people are getting away from, the executive offices or even the brick and mortar, and having offices set up in those types of locations just because of the network, so that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But You want to also register for an employer identification number, your EINs, with the Internal Revenue Service. That basically just provides your business with an identification number for tax purposes so that you're not using your social security number on things. Although when you're registering the EIN, you will need your social security number to obtain one. You can just do those on the IRS website. You want to have some sort of marketing foundation, I guess, for your business as well. You may want to secure a domain name with your business name, create websites, get a business email address.
Right, and actually owning your domain and trademarking it for, if I'm not mistaken, you correct me if I'm wrong, is real big with entertainment. Trademarking those names and
Trademarking your name,
your domain.
Yes. So you definitely want to. Trademarking is something you don't necessarily just jump into. You want to build a foundation some with your business. If you do have a name that's kind of different, I guess, and catchy, and it's made up, novel, that type of thing, you may want to get on the trademark with that sooner than later. But with the trademark, they are only going to register your trademark if it's being used presently through international commerce. So just even local businesses. Trademarks is a whole nother conversation. I'm like, that's going to have to be a different webinar, guys. But yes, the short answer to your question is yes, people do trademark the names of their businesses or their brands, basically, or their logos.
Question that goes back to the entity. Someone said, is it necessary to have a registered agent, like a LegalZoom, to file your business?
It is not necessary, no. But when you're filing your entities, your registered agent has to live in the state in which you're registering your business. So if you are not local to the state in which you're filing your business, you are going to have to find somebody to be your registered agent in that state, because it does require that it's a residency requirement for the registered agent. But your registered agent is just the person who receives service of process for your business. So like in case you were sued and someone needed to summon you to come to court.
So that's like the mediator.
Not even the mediator. They're literally just, I received this document, and they can say in court, like, you've been served. That's what your registered agent is for. So you can be your own registered agent. It doesn't require somebody else to do it. A lot of times, if their lawyers set up the entities for them, will be their registered agents. It just makes sense because they're delivering court papers anyway. So that's what the registered agent is for.
So I think I confused someone else earlier. She said, same girl, Monique. So the online business cannot do banking. Yes, online businesses can do banking. And if you're a home-based business, you can still do banking. But when you're trying to prove yourself as far as in the commercial aspect of things, you're not going to be considered one of those bigger companies if you have those home-based business. So when it comes to the bankers are trying to be more strict on who's going to use certain addresses, because they know that with commercial addresses and being presented as a bigger company, you're going to be able to obtain more funding. If you're a home-based business, you don't need that much funding because you're home-based. So they just want to make sure that you are located where you say you are located, and you're operating the way you're saying that you're operating when it comes to those addresses. So yeah, you can use a home-based business and still have online banking and all of that. They just want to crack down on the ones who are just trying to obtain funding because they're using a virtual address and they're not really a big corporation, because a virtual address can still be considered like a home-based business. So they just want to make sure that you're actually there, and they want to crack down on that. They don't want us to be great. That's it.
Pretty much. They're trying to shut down these small business owners. Like, can we crawl before we walk?
Right. But corporations is what's run the world. These big corporations is what's, funding and operating a lot of these things globally. It's not just the Federal Reserve banks and all that.
Right.
Stuff. It is these big corporations. So They trying to they're nitpicking like, oh, what you trying to do? What you trying to do? So
Right.
that's all that is. Does a physical address have to be located in the same state where the business is registered, or can it have an out-of-state physical address? That would be what, a foreign entity.
Is
If you
she?
was to have an address, it would have no. You would have to have an
You're
address in the same
yeah.
state, right?
Yeah, the physical
Yeah.
address. Are you what I need to understand what she's asking. I don't think I do.
So if your company is registered in Georgia, can you have an address in Alabama as far as like the headquarters?
Oh, you can't. You mean as far as registering it with the state, or does she mean as far as business credit? As far as registering it with the state, yeah, the address can be anywhere. The only person who needs to be local is the registered agent. So they will let you register a business and say that the physical address is out of the state, but the registered agent has to be there, has to be in the state. And the purpose is because you're saying, hey, we're transacting business in the state of Georgia, which is why I wanted to, register an LLC here. But as far as the physical address for the business, if yes, it can be somewhere else. But I don't know what the answer is as far as what for your end. Does it matter for the business credit thing? Do you think would that be something that they would think was weird?
For the business credit, no, as long as it's a commercial address and they can verify that your business, because they'll verify, like they'll come up to your address and say, hey, if this is where you're saying that you're operating out of, they'll come. I've had companies come visit my location and say, oh, we're just here to verify that you work here and that you're saying you're in this suite. So that's it. As long as it can be somewhere where they can, pinpoint, it won't matter as long as it's a commercial address and they can physically reach you.
Are we still doing? Oh,
I was just going to read the last quote. I have an LLC in New York, but moved to Florida. I was told I need to transfer the business to Florida or create a new business in Florida under the same company. I was confused because that means I then need to obtain, and then it cuts the rest of it off. I know if you register a new business, the age of your corporation when it comes to funding has a lot to do with if they're going to approve you or not. On paper, they want to see that you've been operating your business a minimum of 2 years. You can still get business credit cards and gas cards and stuff like that. You can still get stuff. But if you're trying to ask for some big capital and you don't have your corporation at least 2 years, so they're not going to give it to you. So to answer that question, I think, Lorraine, if you're operating out of another state, you can still use that age, but just establish a foreign entity in the States. But every state is different.
Right. Every state, right, exactly. Every state is going to be different as far as how they run that. Most of them will have you register the state, register the entity in the same name, and in parentheses, put the state of the origination where the company originally was. So it's like letting them know, hey, this is the same company, but this is a different division of it for the other state.
Need a new EIN for it?
Kind of, yes, because technically it's a new business name.
Gotcha. Okay, so there you go, Monique. So she said in Florida is completely different. If I try to make or purchase under my EIN from New York, they will not allow me. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, new EIN, Monique. So is there anything else that you was gonna cover?
Oh yeah, just about the well, you talked about the credit foundation. Obtaining the business banking account and transacting business pretty much through that bank account. And as far as also, because we're our own business owners, we need to, like I was saying before, when you're creating that separation between yourself and the business, you should not be out here just swiping your business credit card because, hey, we made some money today and I got to go buy groceries and the baby needs Pampers and this, that, and the third. you need to be paying yourself as an employee of that business or an independent contractor of that business, however you are setting yourself up, and then putting that money into your own separate account, writing a check, and then spending it that way, because you just have to keep that separation between yourself and your business. You probably want to apply for some business credit cards or lines of credit, especially if you need running capital to keep your business going. Obtaining that DUNS number and, beginning to build that business credit. I'm sure you can speak more to it than I can because I don't know very much about it. But yeah,
they gotta establish the entities first. So that trademark and that Dun and Bradstreet number, we can talk about that on another webinar.
There you go.
But
you go. But
so your Duns and Bradstreet number is very important as well.
And you just want to build a team. Definitely an attorney, definitely an accountant, definitely somebody who can
help
you
with
with
two best friends. Okay? Your two best friends.
Exactly. Somebody who can keep you protected and working within the bounds of the law for your industry, and somebody who can keep hold of your money and make sure it's being spent correctly and saved correctly and just doing what it should be doing, and, marketing, advertising, and somebody in sales if that's what your business sells products. But that's
and just to touch base a little bit about those funds. Even if you have challenges with your credit, which of course I can help you with, but even if you do have challenges with your credit and you're operating more with your business, keeping those transactions of personal, hey Jessica, keeping those transactions with personal and business separate is so important, because there is companies out there that don't even care what your credit looks like, but they know that you're making the money, the revenue, the proof is in the pudding, is there. And just based off of your bank statements, they'll give you working capital just off of that. But if they see, I'm not going to use Starbucks, but if they see you're at Forever 21 or Louis Vuitton this week, and that's where you're, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't look like you have structure itself, because they're going to analyze those bank statements. So it's very important to do what Lorraine said, pay yourself, even if you don't have a payroll system in place, which I say it's very beneficial, because you can issue yourself a 1099 or a W-2. And for tax purposes, that covers you because you filed that with the IRS. So even though you have the cash coming in, and that's how you're doing your accounting stuff, those are the ones they use more scrutiny with. They'll be like, okay, so you brought in $80K via cash, but you didn't issue yourself a 1099. You didn't issue yourself a W-2. And so now you're paying even higher taxes at the end, especially if you're not paying quarterly taxes. But I can go on about that. But the most important thing is making sure with your business bank accounts, you're keeping personal, and business. Stop mixing the two, because your business is your own baby. Keep it separate. Uh-oh. Are you breaking out again?
No, I'm here. I'm like, I don't speak on taxes. I don't know nothing about them. I'm coming to see you in a couple weeks, so.
Yeah, but guys, me and her, we're located at the same place. We're always in touch. So if you have any questions for either one of us, just reach out to us. You have our Facebook. Visit financialid.info if you want just a whole revenue breakdown of what you got going on. A revenue decoding is what we call it. We'll look at your personal and business finances and get you together, guys.
Sorry, go ahead. I thought I saw a question.
Okay. I was going to say, and if you want any other information about establishing your entity and getting partnership contracts,
operating agreements, independent contractor agreements, employment agreements, confidentiality agreements, bylaws, definitely the whole gambit of agreements you will need for your business.
Your lady. Yes. Your lady, guys. And let's just utilize our resources. We're here for the small businesses, so that we can eventually become those big Fortune 500 businesses. And some of them don't even have their ducks in a row. So we want to make sure we're doing things right the first time around, because if I had someone like me and Lorraine in front of me telling me all of these things ahead of time, there's a lot of stuff that I wouldn't have had to redo and do all over again. So just utilize your resources. That's what we're here for. And we'll be doing more of these soon. Trademarks and Dun and Bradstreet and all of that. So is there anything else that you wanted to share, Lorraine? What's your website?
That is www.funderburglaw.com. That is FUNDERBURG law.com.
Yes, there you guys go. Funderburg Law.
It's a doozy.
It is. And you can find her on Instagram.
At Esquire Lurae, ESQUIRELERAE, and at Funderburg Law.
There you guys go. So learning the law, so that you know, they always want to come for us.
Right.
So having a attorney in your back pocket is always a good thing. So let's utilize that. And if you need help with your personal finances, guys, it's tax season.
Absolutely.
I can get you same day advances of up to $2,500. So if you guys are ready, we're snowed in. You can fax or email me your tax return too, and we can process those today and get you in advance today. So you can contact me at for that, WMCGroupInc.com. And if you need help with your personal finances, credit and business credit, financialid.info. Join our group at Financial ID Associates. Make sure you keeping us in contact so that any of your questions we can be sure to answer. And let me see if there's any more questions. It looks like I think we need all of that. Yes. There is questions. Okay, so filing personal taxes, including a business, is a no-no. Because my business wasn't making a profit a few years, I filed my business and my personal tax. So we covered that earlier in the video. It depends on how you're filed. So if you are a partnership or a partnership, sole proprietor, or LLC, you would still file that with your personal taxes. It would be on your Schedule C. So that's where you would do all your business income and losses on there. So it's still, unless you're a corporation, for the most part, it's the only time you file a whole separate tax return.
Unless it's the S Corp.
Unless it's the S Corp. So, and then with that too, if you have a payroll in place too, that's easier to separate all of that together. So, yeah, guys. Let me see if there's, I hope I answered your question, Monique. And thank you, guys. They're saying we're beautiful.
Thank
we're
you.
Awesome,
Oh,
and they appreciate all the information. I appreciate
I'm happy.
all of you.
Yes, I appreciate you, Sam. Thanks for inviting me to do this. I've never done anything like this before, so I was nervous. Did you guys tell? I was like, oh, no.
Yeah, but these are, for people who haven't gone live, these are the best ones, because with the interaction, it makes things less tense, because it's just, you know, up to whoever is watching.
Right.
So yeah, guys, connect with us. I don't want to say it wrong again. Her website is funderburglaw.com. It's in the comments. My husband, sorry, I was saying it in Hebrew. My husband posted it in the comments, so that's where her website is. You can connect with us at financialid.info, and for taxes, WMCGroupInc.com. And we are out of here.
Bye.
You your time.
Oh, of course.
I will see you tomorrow.
Yes.
All right.
All right.
Enjoy your day.
You too. Bye.